week after Taliban militants attacked the Intercontinental Hotel in Kabul, killing 11 civilians and wounding at least a dozen more, experts disagree on the possible role played by President Obama's recent announcement of a troop drawback. The U.S. is planning to withdraw 10,000 troops from Afghanistan by the end of this year and 23,000 more by the summer of 2012. Ahmed Lameh is a news anchor from the Afghan news channel Tolo News. Working out of Kabul at the time of the attack on the Intercontinental, he provided War News Radio with an account of the violence.
I was 5 kilometers away from the building, and I was able to see the firings and hearing the sounds of explosions. And I thought there is a very serious attack on the hotel.
Lameh says it was not clear who was in the hotel, but that he had information that dozens of provincial governors were there for a meeting, which was scheduled for the next day.
They were in Kabul to discuss how to take over for security in the province, which is scheduled to be over by 2014. And the militants wanted to assassinate the governors. Fortunately, they couldn't reach the governors.
Because the attack took place so soon after President Obama announced the drawdown of American forces, and because it targeted a meeting of Afghan governors planning for this transition, many, like Lameh, believe it was a direct reaction to the president's announcement.
It happens, the Intercontinental Hotel attack happens just the U.S. President Barack Obama announced the drawdown of its troops from Afghanistan. At the same time, the militants trying to prove that they are powerful and they can do whatever they want, even in the capital, even in the places where there is many security forces, there are foreign guests. This is a very big ultimatum to the Afghan officials, to the commitments that they have made, that they will take over for own security starting in mid-July.
However, Professor Kyron Skinner, director of the Center for International Relations and Politics at Carnegie Mellon University and a research fellow at Stanford University's Hoover Institution, believes that this attack is not directly linked to the president's announcement. Instead, she sees it as part of a larger pattern of violence.
The attack at the Intercontinental Hotel in Afghanistan is part of a number of attacks that have been taking place in recent years by insurgents in the country, so it's not unique in that way. It has happened before. It's a sad story that continues. I don't think it is unique to the announcement by President Obama of a few days ago that the United States would draw down the 33,000 surge troops that he put in place the first year in office. So it's part of a larger pattern of violence by a violent extremist organization.
Matthew Akins, a freelance journalist working out of Afghanistan for Harper's Magazine, echoes Professor Skinner's belief that this attack represents a continuation of violence in Afghanistan.
This attack is not really out of character for what the Taliban have done in the past. They've had multiple coordinated assaults by suicide bombers on a hotel before. For example, what happened at the Serena, and there was a attack by 3 suicide bombers on a police station in central Kabul at the end of June. So it's not really out of the ordinary.
According to Akins, this attack was a little more unusual because of its high-profile target. Typically, insurgents in Afghanistan choose soft targets.
Relatively lightly defended locations that are really civilian targets, such as the suicide bomber who blew himself up in the finest supermarket and just massacred a bunch of people who were doing their shopping. What was most unusual about the attack, though, I guess, is just the cinematic quality of it.
However, whether the attack was a direct challenge to the new role of the Afghan government in national security or part of trending violence in Afghanistan, it highlights a lack of confidence in Afghan security forces and the difficulty that lies ahead as the United States begins to transfer responsibility in Afghanistan.
There's not really much evidence that the Afghan security forces are ready to take over security on their own, either in general or in sort of specific areas that are scheduled to be first in transition.
According to Akins, part of this is because Afghan forces have not yet been given a chance to take on full responsibility for security.
But at the same time, from the limited examples that we've seen, the Afghan security forces have gotten into quite a lot of trouble when they've sort of been left to their own devices. and the initial signs, for example, in the south, aren't particularly encouraging.
Professor Skinner agrees that Afghanistan is not ready to take over full sovereign authority.
Everything from military to security and police forces to civil society, political institutions, governance, the whole gamut. The Afghan leadership needs a lot of help. There's corruption there within the governing structure. That's one problem.
Skinner adds that another problem is that the Taliban itself has remained difficult to root out, despite U.S. military advances.
The planned exit makes sense from a Western standpoint, from the standpoint of our domestic audience in the United States, and for those ISAF countries that are also beginning to draw down. But it's a very weak regime with an insurgency that cannot easily be quelled, that has safe houses in Pakistan. This is a very difficult scenario.
Despite these concerns, the United States plans to continue the drawdown with hopes to end combat operations in Afghanistan, effectively bringing an end to their role in the conflict by 2014. For War News Radio, I'm Sarah Dwider.